Hello everyone, welcome to my art channel where we do painting tutorials. Today we'll be doing some monochromatic watercolor paintings, and what that means is each painting is gonna be painted using only one color. In my case, those are going to be indigo blue and Payne's gray. You can obviously use whichever colors you have, whichever one is your favorite. These are just some of my favorite shades. So I start by weighing the background on the right side with just some clean water, and I add some random blotches of indigo on the sky. I dilute it with water, that way it can spread into the wet background and create these very soft clouds or a very soft hazy sky. For the left side, I apply some Payne's gray to the bottom of the painting, and then I dilute upwards with just some clean water. That way I get a soft gradient effect. Note that I've made a little sticker circle by cutting a circle from my tape and placed it on the sky on the right side. So once I peel it off, I have a very simple and easy moon. Once dry, I erase some of the initial pencil sketch I did on the right painting with an eraser because watercolors are transparent and I don't want black lines showing through my painting, so I very lightly erase some of the sketch. I get my indigo and I dilute with very little water to paint a mountain that is further up in the distance. I leave that to dry, then I take my Payne's gray and I go back to my left painting. I paint a little pathway between the trees on the ground, and it ended up being a bit too dark, so I'm just going to go over it with a dry brush, clean my brush on the napkin, pick up any excess paint, clean it on the napkin, and repeat until I get a nice bright shade. Then I take a lot of Payne's gray without any water. Actually, I didn't dilute it at all, and I paint my trees. Remember, the general rule of thumb is the top of your tree has to be skinnier than the bottom and all of the branches are skinnier than the trunk. I'm only painting on the branches as a reference for myself to know where to place the foliage, because I want the trees and the leaves to be framing this pathway to create sort of an arc around it. And to add my leaves, I'm just randomly tapping with my brush on top of each branch, and by having placed them, I know where to place the leaves instead of just having them float randomly in the sky. If drawing is not your thing, there is a traceable to these and many art tutorials over at my Patreon page, Sunshine Arts, and like always, all of the supplies used will be linked down in the description box along with the reference pictures I used for these two paintings. Back to my forest, I'm just using the tip of the brush when I start painting a tree from the top, and then using slightly more pressure as I move down towards the trunk, towards where the tree starts. My line goes from skinny to thick, and it's an easy way to paint a tree shape. Then on the bottom of each side of the pathway, I'm going to apply a lot of Payne's gray, so it looks like I have bushes coming out from the forest that are coming onto the path. I repeat the same exact steps on the right side of the forest. I start a line, making it skinny on the top and thicker on the bottom. I add some random branches, that way I know where to place my foliage. And then I just tap on top of them to paint my leaves. It's okay if the tree on the right and the trees on the left overlap each other. It's perfectly fine. It's just going to help give that idea of a framed path, of an arc in the forest. I also add random taps of Payne's gray right on the right edge, so it looks like there are more trees that are out of frame, but you can still see the ends of their branches. Then I leave that to dry. I take some more indigo and I dilute with less water, that way the color is a bit darker, a bit more saturated than the previous layer, and I paint another mountain that is closer to us. Once that dries, again I take my indigo with even less water this time and I paint my final mountain. For this one, I'm using the tip of the brush to get an uneven look, so it's like there are trees that are on top of the mountain. Since it's closer, they're a bit more visible compared to the previous layers we did. I noticed there were some white patches on the bottom right corner of my forest painting, so I quickly fixed those by applying some more Payne's Gray on that just to cover them up. Then I do the final layer for my indigo utility poles painting. So I just take the indigo right from the well, I do not dilute it, I paint the ground just a solid rectangle of color. And with the tip of the brush, I do some straight lines for the utility poles. I go very slowly so I get more precise results. I do the little T shape on top, which is holding the wires. And lastly and slowly, I paint the actual wires. Just very steady. I personally have shaky hands, so I find it useful to hold my wrist with my other hand. That way it's a bit more steady. The bomb had tried a bit lighter than what I had in mind, so I'm quickly going to do a second layer on top of it with just some more indigo. I'm just doing a second layer of indigo on top of my previous layer of indigo to darken it up and build a darker color. I'm quickly going to dry everything up because if your painting is still wet, there's a big chance when you take off the tape it's going to rip, and we do not want that, so quickly dry it up or leave it to air dry, and then I just take off the tape. I'd like to give a very special thank you to my patrons for the month of November, and thank you all for watching. If you found any use in this tutorial, please let me know by liking, commenting, and if you have not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm currently trying to reach 20,000 subscribers and it would really mean a lot to me. We'll see each other in the next video. Bye bye!